Yes.
If you want to become a good content creator, I can tell young people.
Yes.
There are some things that trend for no reason.
Yeah.
If you just play with the cat on camera and you just put a video on how to play with the cat, that becomes so petty.
Imagine
that it goes viral. Yes, just look at the videos that go viral. There's somebody playing with the cat.
But that is Professor Fred Ogola, Chairman Operation Linda Nanji. Leo tuko kwa State of the Nation. Prof, let me ask you, what do you think excites Kenyans the most, especially young Kenyans? Because I know obviously you've worked with Kenyans as a professor. Yes. You've educated young Kenyans. What do you think excites young Kenyans? Are we sikuangarada sana na story ya policy, where our country is going? Ama we just like cut videos?
No, by the way, what I'm trying to say, apart from the fact that the people could be concerned about economy, there's no real content economically that young people feel excited about. When you hear our leaders discuss about economics, it amazes you. When they discuss about environment, young people are excited about the environment, it amazes you.
Yes, yes.
So for that matter, it's not that Kenyans like small things like playing with cats and playing with dogs and pet games and gossip. It's just that if you go to the other side where you should be discussing about real economics, then you are just underwhelmed.
Okay.
Look at the discussion taking place about the Finance Bill and Finance Act. That if you tax the rich people, you are going to empower the poor person. Do you know what food chain talks about? That nyasi inaliwa na ng'ombe, sivyo? Alafu ng'ombe inaliwa na nani? Na binadamu, sivyo? Ukitaka kuwa binadamu, wa ng'ombe wote. Binadamu watakula nini? So when we are being told by the president, I'm taxing the rich, the middle class, to give to the poor. All the poor people eat from the middle class, and the middle class eat from the upper class. So if you want to kill the middle class, kill the upper class. If you kill the middle class, you kill the lower class. Because ukitaka kuwa mtu huwa chakula chake. Sahi kama uko na nyumba penye kuna cockroaches mingi, sivyo? Si cockroach anakulanga uchafu. Ukitaka kuwa cockroach huwa uchafu. Safisha nyumba mpaka inakuwa ile tamu sana, sivyo? Ukitaka kuwa mosquito, sivyo? Mosquitoes usually go in dark corners penye kuna maji na nini, sivyo? Toa mfereji zote dry everywhere. Si mosquito taisha. So by taxing heavily the rich people, the upper class, you are actually taxing, actually finishing the lower people. Nilikuwa Marigat last week, and I asked people in Marigat, and I want to give you facts. If you know where Marigat is, Marigat town, from Marigat to Nakuru has been 400 shillings fare by public transport.
Yes.
Now with the Finance Act increasing what called the circulation tax, which will go to the vehicles. They are not taxing the middle class vehicle, they are taxing all vehicles. So if they tax a matatu, that circulation tax, mtu matatu atafanya nini? Atasukumia passenger, sivyo? So we are looking at Marigat Nakuru moving from 400 to 600.
Yes, yes.
Sasa alafu tena nikaongea na watu, I went to somebody who is having a small kiosk that has motorcycle spare parts. When you tax those motorcycle spare parts, see, it's owned by the rich person.
Exactly.
But whom does he sell to? Si mtu wa boda,
mtu ground,
sivyo? Alafu ile mama mboga ambaye anachukua mboga from Nakuru kuja kuuza Marigat, sivyo? Ukisha tax circulation tax ya vehicle, fare imepanda, si sukuma itapanda, si nyanya itapanda, si kitungi itapanda. Alafu mwenye anakuja kununua si ni wewe na mimi
pia taturamba.
Sasa what I'm trying to say, that Rootonomics doesn't work.
Rootonomics.
Yes, Rootonomics doesn't work. And in fact, that's why I have this thing called Solomonic economics.
We'll talk about Solomonic economics in that amazing book.
So what I'm trying to say, kama wewe ni kijana, unataka kusikiza hii uchumi inaenda wapi, unaona kama ushadanganywa tayari, then you go and watch Pet Business, because they are at least get entertained than to get stressed up with an economic formula which does not work.
Let me ask you something, Prof. Our president anasema we need to live according to our means, tuache mambo ya kuboro sana. Eventually, Wakenya tutaona the fruits of this taxation.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time. Na alikuwa anasema, by the way, by the time he's going to be leaving power, you ideally 2027, hata kama atarudi, constitutionally inamaanisha ataachana na power 2027. Kenya tutakuwa tunataxiwa about 22% of 22% of the GDP of our GDP, something like that, right? So does it make sense, your narrative, your president saying that we need to live according to our means, prosperity nakuja, although inaenda kuturamba, but we will see the benefits huko mbele. What is he talking about?
Let me explain that in two ways. There's something really wrong with that statement. First, we are being compared with the taxation levels in the West, isn't it?
France,
France, isn't it? Now let's get you. Do you know how many hospitals are there in France?
Okay.
So how can you pay tax to the level of France, but get the service at the level of Kenya? There are 125,000 potholes between Busia and Mombasa. Sivyo? Right. If you go to France, if you go to the super highway, the one that leads from Lyon going to Paris, there's no pothole. You drive on what you call autopista.
Yes,
you drive until you forget that actually there is a road. You think that you are driving on, let's say on carpet, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, do you know that in the US, 63% of roads are paved, isn't it? If you go to China, 100% of roads are paved. China, India, India is 61%. Kenya is 9% of roads are paved. So how do you pay taxes to the level of China, which is 100% paved? The president was in the US. When he left the airport, driving all those places, tell me how many potholes he saw. You leave our airport here. Kabla ufike Vibes Radio, hata tire isha fill imegonga almost 1,000 potholes. Sasa, look here, if you have that big road network to maintain, your taxes for sure can be high, isn't it? If you go to apply for a passport, an ID in France, they tell you after 5 days come from your ID passport, isn't it? In Kenya, my own daughter's passport has finished 1 year, has not come. Your ID, you don't know. I was in a cell last week with a young boy who is he applied for a passport now 18 and a half, and he has not received his ID 1 year ago. So he tells we had to negotiate for him to be released as a minor because he has no ID. If the government has not given ID, he's a minor. What I'm trying to say is that it's terrible. Doctors are on strike every day. Teachers are always on strike. Now there's no budget for children to pay to eat at school. That money which was used when children are sick, insurance, covering children in school, in boarding school, imetolewa. Linda mama, imetolewa. So the services are going down, taxes are going up. So how do you understand that Rootonomics? So this Rootonomics is a lie. So that's my first way to tell you. Second thing, let us understand, my brother, Kevo. If the diagnostic is wrong, hakuna haja kupewa dawa, sivyo? So what is the Kenyan economic problem? Let us not forget about William Ruto, because I'm just tired about talking about him. The Kenyan problem are two economically. One, we have high debt. And two, we have an economy which is not working. So economy needs two problems: solving the debt issue and stimulating economic activity. To stimulate economy where people need to do business at ease of doing business, all those things, starting a business, all those business environment. So you cannot solve those two problems with one solution.
Yes.
So when he says to let us live within our means, let us collect taxes and pay the debt, but how do you make economy work? Because if you have two problems, like say one, debt is high, two, there's no economic activity. If you increase taxes, you reduce economic activity, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
You can increase taxes to pay debt, but reduce economic activity. So you cannot have one formula for all problems. It's like uko na nyundo, sasa kila kitu ni kama msumeno. Unaona? So there are 4 strategies that I would advise Ruto to do. Me, I'm not here to shout at him. I'm an economist, actually one of the leading in Africa, if not beyond, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. To solve the two problems of debt and economic activity, first, he need to lower the taxes by 12%. 12% to be exact.
Okay.
Because they are too high. You have to increase taxation a little bit when you have high debt, isn't it? But as you do that, that cannot be only solution. Secondly, lower the government expenditure.
Yes.
Because if you increase taxation, you are increasing government expenditure, you are actually not having any additional money to pay the debt and to bring economic activity. So he has to lower government expenditure.
Right.
So government expenditure is going up, isn't it? Taxes are going up, recurrent expenditure are going up. There's no economic gain in increasing what taxation. So two, what he needs to do, and I'm sure you're going to find this controversial, he need to default on the debt.
We need to default.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, economically, defaulting on debt is a strategy.
Okay.
Ghana defaulted.
Yeah.
They are better off now. For us, we continue paying, but we are worse off. What I'm trying to say is this, when we did economic analysis, we found out that 2.1 trillion of the Kenyan debt is authentic. Which means that out of the 11.98 trillion debt, some are what you call odious debt, fake debt. Because Treasury says our debt is 6.8 trillion. State House says it is 11.98 trillion. We took a case to court to ask them, so what is our debt? Parliament says 2.1. Treasury says 6.8. State House says 11.98 trillion. So if I'm president now, what I'll do, I'll default in the debt. Once I go into a debt default, isn't it? Then I can restructure the debt. And restructure will be, I'll tell them, most of this debt is fake debt. You understand? So if I tell you, you gave me a debt which is fake, and there's no way I can pay if it's fake. So take half, I take half. So out of the around 6 trillion debt, which are odious debt, if we agree with the debtors that you take 3, I take 3, because both of us made a mistake. I borrowed when I was not supposed to borrow. And you gave me without checking whether I qualify. Take 3, I take 3. See, we lower that thing. So that's what I mean. That's default. Secondly, the president needs to invest on private sector.
Okay.
Because you see, private sector, they are competing with private sector. When you compete with private sector, economy does not work. Look at how FKE has been reporting that we are losing 289 jobs per day. And those are not casual. Those are permanent jobs, white collar jobs we are losing per day.
Yes.
When you kill those people who are losing jobs per day, who is dying? Who? The people who eat them, I told you.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
So the hustler, if you have been a house help, or you have been a driver, or you have been whatever it is, you lose jobs. So that is something we need to do. Third, we need to lower the interest rate, because the interest rate has gone up in the banking sector. Young people who are not interested, that's why they watch a pet, they can't get a loan. And the government need to stop competing with borrowing with the young people. If you're a young person, ata gari hauna, alafu you are competing with the government that has assets, has the entire treasury. Uki apply for loan, bank itaangalia, huyu jamaa is a big gamble, na hata sioni kama anafaulu. Na gava italipa hata kama italipa kesho, sivyo? So that's what I'm trying. Those are things that needs to be addressed, and if he does those things, you will find the economy recovering. We cannot have one formula for everything, even in life. Kama kuna shida yako na bibi, sivyo? Wewe sema shida ni kuja nyumbani mapema, unaweza kuja na mapema na umuongeleshe vizuri. So you must have a multifaceted approach to solve the economic problem.
So I want us to talk about in just a bit the demos that went down, the demos that you were leading against the, I don't want to say punitive taxes, let me just say the finance bill. Like one thing that stood out for me, Juicy, there's some 76 residential properties, 56 plots, and numerous multi-million shilling assets slated for auction. So these are top tier properties, like I said, poised for auction amid the challenging economic times. Now, some of these properties, they go places kama Nyeri, Lavington, Kileleshwa, Upper Hill, Kilimani, Loresho. We're talking about luxurious residential dwellings. We're talking about hotels, nini. All this, it reflects the recent surge in bank interest rates, exacerbating the financial woes of defaulting property owners. Now, this finance bill, if it goes through, how bad can the situation be for Kenyans? What wanakusikiza sahi? I mean, they listen to you give us numbers, nini, but for the young guy out there, the Mkenya wa kawaida,
in a layman language,
finance bill 2024, iki go through, iki tunaenda kuturamba aje. How bad can this thing be?
First and foremost, my brother, everything will go up in terms of cost. Everything will go up in terms of cost, and everything will go down in terms of income. You see, when incomes are going down and costs are going up, then a country is in trouble. You know, when you talk about those people, I'm liking what's happening at the moment. Because professionals have been our problems, middle class.
Okay.
When you hear Lavington, Kileleshwa suffering, they should suffer now. So that when they come for election time, they must actually come to fruition. And when we talk about the demo I did, the first thing that I loved, did you see the people who were arrested? They were not poor people. For me, I didn't organize a demo where poor people suffer when rich people are enjoying, because that has been the demo which has been organized before. Unaona mtoto amepigwa bunduki na kama wenyewe hakushikwa. You seen when ODM did the demos, Azimio did the demos, who arrested? The common mwananchi. But me, who was arrested, is the leader of the demo. And when I saw the policeman arresting my team, I ran to the scene and told them, arrest me. Because I could have run, because I was at Garden Square. They were being arrested in front of Vigilance House. Yes, and I came because they were coming with a convoy from Kaloleni Social Hall to meet me in Parliament. Then we pick the dummy of the Constitution from Parliament and take it back to Kaloleni to demonstrate that we are taking back Kenya back to Kenyans. And that's what we call Hewa Mpya. We are taking back Kenya to Kenyans, because Kenya has been taken over by these members of parliament. These members of parliament has denied Kenyans their right.
What do you mean?
But who passed the 2023
same members of parliament?
Same members of parliament. They said they didn't read it. How can we have 390 members of parliament who do not read the bill? This disorganization in parliament is amazing. They have been pointing fingers as William Ruto, but Azimio is equally disorganized. Why?
Okay.
If I was the head of Azimio, I could have organized a PG meeting. I could have taken parliament through that bill, and we could have come with a common ground on the bill. Not that you go to parliament, you find that UDA had their PG meeting, their position is one. Then you, who wants to beat them with more numbers, you have 20 different positions in the house where someone even start opposing. So they are laughing and say, oh, the idiots are opposing themselves. So there was no strategy to stop the bill.
Yes.
Secondly, the Tugeges, the Mount Kenya MPs.
Yes.
They came there and they're being told numbers. Whenever you say anything, oh, we have numbers. So this is the same choir we are going to have in this bill. Oh, we have numbers. If you say, this bill will kill this and this. Oh, we have numbers. Bring your numbers. So we cannot have numbers without looking at the impact of the economy. So what is going to affect people? One, let's go to the basic thing. Cost of milk will go up. When cost of milk go up, what will people drink? You remember, if you go, basic thing, I was in Marigat. I saw when parents are taking kids to school, they take 2 slices of bread, wanaweka blumba ndani, wanapatia mtoto anaweka kwa bag, anaenda na sivyo. Because you, Kevo, when you grew up, I don't know where you grew up, maybe you are a town boy.
I'm a city boy.
Yeah, we are city boy. Meaning ni issue kwa Kenya.
Okay.
When we are going to school, my mother used to cook either the cassava, boil cassava, or you could boil the ngwashe, or you could boil ndoma. Do you know those foods are more expensive than bread these days?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you know how much is just a piece of ndoma? So bread has become the only way you can guarantee a child when they are going for a picnic, they are traveling somewhere. For example, kids are going for ice skating, they are going to play sports. Ni mkate ndio unaweka, sivyo? In fact, when the bread goes up, even the policemen who went for the Madaraka Day, I saw them eating bread.
Imagine.
So now, if we increase bread, how will you feed the policemen? So I'm saying that is a basic necessity that should not be overtaxed. In fact, the rule of taxation is you should never tax what many people consume to make it a little bit unaffordable for them. Secondly, owning property will become a big problem in this country. That's why you see people want to sell and auction. Because now, even deep in the village, the stamp duty has been increased. If you increase stamp duty and people want to be processed to own land, and owning title is a big challenge all Kenyans are having. If you add stamp duty, you are going to affect that one. Secondly, this rule of taxation is that you should never tax asset. We tax income. So anybody with an asset that they are trying to accumulate, before you could buy an asset, just to accumulate them, knowing you shall use them later, isn't it? Now you accumulate at a cost. So people are going to buy less assets. So anybody who is in the industry of selling assets, some people lose jobs there, and some people lose business there.
Yeah. So
the challenge is immense. Now, come to the issue of digital payment. Now they have touched on that, isn't it? Do you know that people have been operating on till numbers and pay bill numbers, and now they don't want them? Nowadays, people work with just the mobile. People will start working with cash. It will increase insecurity. People will start putting money under their mattresses. So these challenges for me are immense.
Yes.
I think the president has not looked at the consequences of his decisions.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that either he's not listening to anybody or the people advising have no issue. Because what is happening is that the president has no time to think about economics. Why am I saying so?
Yes.
If the same president is procuring a plane, even negotiating the price of the plane, did you see those things? He's answering himself.
See, he said his rich friends and walim get on Reggae.
No, but you see, he said, first of all, he said he was given a quote from KQ, isn't it?
Yes.
The president asking for a quote from KQ. Does he have time to think about this finance bill?
Kwani he's the one who does procurement.
Yes, he's the one doing procurement, isn't it? He's a husband at home who dictates whatever everybody eats, isn't it? The other day was dictating who traveled with him to Ogola's funeral or not. You see, the president is busy with non-issues.
Okay.
But a head of state like Kibaki, whom I was his advisor economically,
yes,
Kibaki never bothered with all those nonsense. Kibaki was very simplistic. I remember one anecdote I can tell you. Went for a meeting. It was about deciding the name of Thika Highway. So Kibaki was in a meeting and somebody came with 14 slides to explain to him why that thing should be named Kibaki Avenue. You understand? Then Kibaki said, excuse me, how many slides do you have? 14. What do you want to achieve? We want to explain to you, Mr. President, how this highway should be named. I'm asking, where is that highway going? And he said it's going to Thika. Mombasa Road is going where? To Mombasa. Thika Highway. And he left. He had no time for non-issues.
Prof, let's take a short break. But
yes.
I want us to kirudi sasa kabla tuongee story ya the demonstration. I want you to tell us, how can we ensure the effectiveness of our members of parliament? Kwa sababu watu wana to let down. Tukianza show leo Kivali niambia the buck stops with the Central Kenya MPs. Yes. when it comes to the finance bill 2024. Yeah. I don't know whether you think the same. I don't know, of course, pia kumekuwa na the 7th review of Kenya's 4.43 billion program with the IMF. And so some guys are saying this IMF, they could be the brains behind these punitive taxes. We'll talk about that and many other stories. Sure. 7:35. Kumbuka, my guys, we have the one and only, one of the brilliant economists in Africa and probably the world out there, the one and only Professor Fred Ogola, chairman of Operation Linda Jamii. And the president is saying, things will be tough. Huko mbele hata hii after hii finance bill 2024. Huko hivi sasa 2025 to 2026.
Hakuna kukaranga.
Things will be crazy.
Boilo.
Guys, we are with Professor Fred Ogola. He's an economist and tunabanja hapa hivi maneno the finance bill. We're also going to touch on other stories when it comes to the state of the nation. Lakini Mosh, real quick, let's talk about the demonstration that went down on Saturday. Polisi walikumanhandle. Right? So what were you hoping to achieve with this demos?
We wanted to launch a bill to recall the president and deputy president directly, because I've heard people discussing about Finance Act. I've heard people discussing about, I don't know, the impeachment of Linturi. I've heard people talk about impeach, I don't know, Nakomicha. These are small stories. In fact, Bruto will continue keeping us busy by throwing bones at us. Like now he has thrown a bone, discuss about the jet. As you discuss about the jet, real things is happening.
Discuss about Gashago and Ruto fighting.
Yes.
So these are distractions.
So why we were arrested, we went for the jugular vein. If, when a lion is a small animal, but very smart, when a lion wants to bring down a buffalo, the lion goes for two things. Either the jugular vein, which takes down the buffalo in 7 minutes, or they go for the windpipe, the pipe that takes air to the brain.
Yes.
If he gets that, you are done. So for us now, as Linda Jamii, under the umbrella of concerned citizens of Kenya movement, we are going for the windpipe. The windpipe is we have to put amendment to the constitution to give citizens power to recall the president. I guess gives me time to explain this to you.
Yes, please.
Why was this necessary?
And maybe you can tell us how we can do that. How
Yes,
can
I'll go there.
Yes.
Why we are doing this is because Kenyans went to fight for independence, to self-rule, self-determination. And I've discovered that you cannot have self-rule if you cannot make your own decisions. Ken and Kevo, can you make a decision on how much taxes you pay today? Because somebody
Simple
has
public
bought...
participation.
No, forget about it. They said
Yes.
that they said it was done, but there was no change in what Kenyans wanted. If you ask Kenyans, even a survey, they'll tell you over 90% of them are not happy with the finance bill 2023, and even 2024 the same, but it'll pass anyway. So instead of discussing about how parliament are discussing, watching on television how they are voting, we are being put on what's called current affairs. Current affairs whereby somebody keeps you busy with an issue, real issue are passing. So for us, why we went there is that Kenyans cannot make decisions on how much taxes they pay, how their taxes are being spent. They cannot make decisions on their healthcare system. They cannot make decisions on their education system. Because I talked to Gitu Kaingeri. He is the president of the now Mau Mau veterans, and asked him, why did you go to the bush? He told me, I wanted to get educated so that we can get our young people educated and get jobs. And then secondly, we wanted to get access to our resources so that we can produce with them and make money. Now, Mount Kenya, which is the production arm of the country, cannot produce because taxes are killing them. And they cannot make decisions because the elected MPs who have gone to parliament and they have been bought by the president. We have 3 arms of government, isn't it, officially? Now there are 5. The first arm of government is legislature, which is parliament, is now being controlled by State House, which is the 4th arm.
Exactly.
And people are now saying Raila Odinga has become the 5th arm of government. Yes, so because now you see, if opposition wants to attack government, Raila can say, hey, I must go to AU, please slow down. So we're having 5 arms of government now. In this kind of system, we want to give Kenyans chance to self-determine. That's the why. What are we doing? We are launching the Mwananchi Bill because we have discovered that the Constitution of Kenya 2010 has given Kenyans a false sovereignty. You have power to elect president, to give him, but you have no power to take back your power.
Okay,
if this is your book, and you give it to me, Fred, take this book.
I won't return.
But you cannot return it. It has ceased to be my book. So sovereignty belongs to Kenyans, and we elect the president using universal suffrage. But we cannot remove him using universal suffrage. So the same knife we used to give you an apple, the same knife we shall take it back. Then secondly, there's a lot of what is called segregation in this election. Actually, a lawyer has told me, Professor, you're bringing an innovation in the legal fraternity. There's a lacuna in the Constitution.
Yes.
Do you know that MP can be recalled by the citizens directly? Senators, governors, everybody, except the president. So why is the president special? We should get everybody able to be recalled by the people when they're not happy. So that's the what. How.
The how is now is there. What matters?
How is called debe kabla ya debe. We have to take Ruto to the ballot before the ballot. So we want to go and launch a referendum where that's what's called debe. That referendum should ensure before 2027, anybody will be elected. If people are not happy, or if people are deceived like Kenyans were deceived, if you make a mistake to elect the president, you can recall him back. You know, in UK, our system of government here is very poor. I heard we talk about that UDA party. There's no party in Kenya. There's no political party in Kenya. What you have in Kenya, I call them in English fraternities and sororities, where some tribes, cocoons come together, but the party belongs to one person. ODM is owned by one person. Tell me who owns ODM apart from one person. UDA the same. If you want to know ODM is owned by one person, John Buddy is the chair of ODM, isn't it? He wanted to become the governor of Homa Bay, isn't it? He looked for the ODM ticket, he didn't get. How can a chair of ODM not go or get ODM ticket? Timothy Bosire wanted to become the governor of, I don't know, this country, is a county next to Kisii. I've forgotten the name. He did not get the ticket, and he's the national treasurer, which means that there's somebody in ODM who is one person making the decision. So because of that, we in UK, Labour Party, which was sponsoring Tony Blair, If a prime minister becomes unpopular, he goes home. Tony Blair went home, but not because he resigned. Actually, he had to resign because the law says so, isn't it?
Yes.
We got Gordon Brown, isn't it? After that, we got David Cameron. After David Cameron, we got Theresa May, isn't it? We got Boris Johnson. We got Liz. Now we have Sunak.
Yeah.
For us in Kenya, there is no one who has ever left government like that. So we are seeing there's a lacuna in the constitution whereby no one can leave office just because of non-performance. So let me just explain
this idea of recalling the president.
Yeah.
Please make it a bit more practical. How does even the process start?
The process starts by us now, first of all, amending the constitution to give citizens that power.
Okay.
After we have amended the constitution, then anybody, not me probably, but any other person can say, now that we have this thing, we can go. Because look, in 2022, when Raila Odinga lost election against William Ruto, whether he lost or not, but he had a very contentious thing, even then it was narrowly fought. If we had this amendment done, we did not have to go through demonstration. I think you remember, Kevo, when I launched a marathon in town saying, peaceful marathon.
Yes, I remember.
I did not want people to do mandamano. We should not be having demonstration to remove the head of state. So, if you initiate that bill and the bill passes, and I'm happy that we don't have to go to through parliament because this part of the constitution is protected.
Yes.
It is the people deciding. For example, if I collect 1 million signatures, take to IBC authenticates that there are actually 1 million signatures. Immediately, IBC will take to parliament for discussion. But if parliament says they don't agree with it, the IBC will take it to referendum to the people, not that parliament has a say on it.
Okay.
Even the county assembly has no say on it. And if the parliament says we want to change it the way you said, then they'll come and ask me, Professor. They are saying, for not me, but concerned citizens, they say, concerned citizens, Parliament says they can amend it the way you want. So if they can amend, you say, okay, go ahead and amend it. We don't have to go through referendum. But if they refuse, then we go through the referendum. That's how it's self-determined. Okay. Imagine, Kevo, that the president must ascend it, even if he does not want it.
Yes, wow.
But the constitution is very clear. It is self-determined. After 35 days, after the IBC has presented the president the referendum results, if he does not ascend it, it becomes enforced naturally without his signature. That's how powerful our constitution is. That's why you saw us when we put this constitution on top of the pickup, we were giving allegiance to the supremacy of the constitution. So that's how it goes. After that has been passed, it just takes a Kenyan to go through a referendum through a simple majority, and the president goes home. But look here. Just allow me to explain. There are some provisions in the Constitution of Kenya 2010 we made which are no longer assumptions. We assumed that we shall have a head of state who has a conscience. The ones who resigned in UK had a conscience, where you say, like Joris Bonson, why he resigned was he held a party during COVID and he was the one preaching about COVID. So that was bad manners. He resigned. In Kenya, how many bad manners have we had in Kenya? No one can resign. So if we have no conscience, if we do not have conscience, we assume everyone in state will have conscience. For example, you are driving this economy, cost of living is going up, people are dying, school system is shattered, education system. You don't even know when to deal with floods. Everything is not working.
But Prof, let me jump in there. Speaking of conscience, what if this conscience is not really a Kenyan conscience? Maybe there's somebody else calling shots. Now, the reason Nasamaivo is because the finance bill of 2024 is coming at a time when the country has been undergoing the 7th review of Kenya's about $4.43 billion US program with the IMF. Now, people are saying that this thing, the imminent finance bill 2024, could it be a brainchild of IMF? Maybe all this time we're actually singing to the tune of some of these international institutions. We're blaming the wrong person, the president. Well, and in real sense, the people who are calling the shots, he's just held hostage.
Kevo, I told you why I'm talking about Mwananchi Bill. I've told you again why I talk about sovereignty. We are supposed to self-rule. And I want to ask Kenyans, stop explaining things for William Ruto. Ask simple questions that matter, isn't it? If I go to hospital, can I get doctors? Whether you want to work, no, that's not my decision. For us, we gave you power for 5 years. Make your decisions. You are a head of state. I don't like these things where Kenyans start blaming America, UK, blaming IMF, World Bank. Why did you elect the president? When you're electing the president, did you know that he can control the country or he can be controlled by IMF?
We thought he would control the
country. No,
country.
but that is the point. For me, I don't want to go to explaining why. We are not supposed to be consultant for the president. Kevo, you work in Vibes Radio. Ken, who pays you?
Vibes Radio, standard.
Why are you consulting for State House? Do they pay you? So go to the questions. If I'm sick, can I go to hospital, get treated and go home?
Yes.
If I go to school, can I get education? If I go to the shop, the supermarket, can I afford bread, milk and sugar? If I go to the fuel station, can I get fuel that is good in quality at a price I can afford? Is Kenyans living? If I take a car to Mombasa, can I drive without hitting a pothole? Let us not go to become consultants.
2027 is next door.
So what
Prof.
I'm asking is clear.
Yes.
Let us put IMF aside.
You're right.
Yes.
That's what I'm asking.
But truth be said, that they are having some influence in our country.
Of course.
But let us not blame IMF.
Okay.
The head of state
and his advisors
is the president. I remember the time when Uhuru Kenyatta said, "Nitafanya nini juu ya corruption?" Are you head of state? And something hurts me, my brother. The president went to the US, sat on the seat of Joe Biden in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
Then Biden asked him, "So what do you see Kenya going?" Then he said, "With your leadership, Mr. President, with your leadership, I am a head of state. I'm a commander-in-chief. How do I subordinate myself to another head of state? Why do you take Kenyans so low?" For me, I could have told him, "Excuse me, we have a Kenyan fiscal and diplomatic policy. Relate with us as per that." Professor, at the moment, we are dealing with this.
Prof, I have one more question because I can see we're running out of time. Unacheki sasa 2027 in approach. Na umesema, for you, the only thing that matters ni power to the people. Hii conversation ni ya Wakenya.
Yes.
I saw the other day Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi alikuwa anasema, "Guys, I don't even know why we're complaining here too much, and we know very well that President Ruto atarudi 2027. We are going to do this thing until 2032.
Yeah.
Is it a case of Wakenya not knowing how to vote? I don't know what's really wrong with Kenyans. Now, what is the problem? Ikifika ile siku ya ballot, why can't we vote in the right leaders?
Kevo,
who will not remember us?
You see me wearing a hat called Hewa Mpya.
Hewa Mpya.
What is Hewa Mpya all about? Hewa Mpya is taking back Kenya back to Kenyans. And we are going to have a serious civic education. What is lacking to Kenya? Be aware of what they did. I was in Marigat. They told me they'll not elect him back. I was in Kagio, in Kirinyaga. I have videos recorded. They are telling me, "Professor, it is you we are voting." We are talking about Hewa Mpya. What is Hewa Mpya? Young leaders should emerge.
Exactly.
And I want to tell you something which is happening in Nyanza, you have no idea.
Okay.
It's not just going to hit William Ruto. This is going to hit even the opposition in Luo Nyanza. As we speak, there's what called Sonyila, Solidarity of New Nyanza Leadership Assembly, under our leadership of Joseph Odera, who is the overseer. We have collected all professionals together in different groups, whether it's Boda Boda, whether it's Mama Mboga, whether it is teachers from ECD to professorship. We are going to launch this in Kisumu very soon. New Nyanza must breathe new ideology, new philosophy,
there you go.
New leadership.
Yes.
It is not, we are not going to wait for William Ruto and play his game. That's why I tell you, Deba Kabla Deba means what? We are not going to play according to your strategy. We have to create a strategy. As a master strategist, we said, when you go to an industry, don't play the game you found being played.
Yes.
Change the industry. Change the strategies in the industry. So we are going to change even the politics of 2027. It will be so different from what he thinks. Because the president thinks about two things. How can he retain power? What has he done? I'm sorry to confess here, but you can forgive me because I have to say. According to me, General Ogola was killed for 2027 calculations.
Wow.
So that by the time, I can prove it. Of course, I've given evidence. I'm waiting for them to counter it.
Okay.
Why I'm saying so? General Ogola was supposed to retire in May next year. Nyeri, who is the current CDF, was supposed to retire in May next year. If he waited for Ogola to retire, Nyeri was also retiring, which means he could not take over CDF. They could get a younger person from the Navy, and this younger person could not be somebody from Sugoi. They wanted somebody from Sugoi to be the CDF by the time we are going for 2027 election. Debe kabla debe means that we shall have another debe before that day. And you can go home before that 2027.
Yes.
So you have to come and fight for your life, isn't
Yes,
it?
yes, yes.
So that's the strategy. And I'm not giving up until I'm dead.
Yeah. Wow.
And someone should not threaten me with
So
death.
you will be on the ballot?
Yes, I'll be in the... Well, I mean, when people from Nyanza
Yes.
speak in one voice and says me, because now we have like 6 leaders who have come, not just from Luo Nyanza, but across the country, under concerned citizens. We are like 4 possible candidates.
Wow.
I don't mind any of us becoming president,
Yes,
isn't
yes,
it?
yes.
What I want is a government that is about concerned citizens of Kenya.
All right.
Where the country will be run according to the citizens' power. That's the most important. Power to the people, power to the people. You heard that thing being said.
Exactly,
But
yeah.
it is gone. So I want to take it back to people. Now, why am I telling you should not be worried?
Very briefly.
William Ruto
You have
won
about
this
1
election
minute.
by only 50.5%. How much percent did Kibaki win the first time? Almost 60%.
Hey.
And he almost lost, actually people say he lost the election in 2007 to Raila Odinga. So if Kibaki, who did the economic turnaround of the country, suffered like that, how about somebody who has just mistreated the economy? What is he going to get? And I've told you, if Ruto just loses 500,000 votes, he cannot be a president.
Yes.
Do you want to tell me more than 500,000 people are not happy with him? If you go anywhere, including Rift Valley, there he's going to suffer. I was in Marigat, someone told me analogy of a weaver bird. If a weaver bird was supposed to build their nest in Vibes Radio, and you have maize here, they'll never eat maize from Vibes Radio. They're going to eat maize from far.
Yeah.
So huyu jamaa amekula watu, ameramba watu wa Rift Valley,
Pole sana.
na huko ndiye anatoka.
Professor Fred Ogola, the economist and chairman of the Operation Linda Jamii. Tumekuwa tukiingia story ya Finance Bill 2024. Thanks a lot, Prof.
Thank you.
Imekuwa real sana.
Catch the vibes on air and online.